This week, to me, is about one word, and that's focus. Not getting ahead of ourselves. We have an opportunity to hang a banner. We have an opportunity in our first year in Conference USA to win a share of a championship, which would be a tremendous feat, especially for a team that really has gone without their leading scorer throughout conference play. So it'd be something that no one could ever take away from us. The opportunity's right there Thursday against a team that we had success with here, but our focus has got to be off the charts. It can't be about bracketology. It can't be about El Paso. None of that. None of that really matters. What matters to us right now is playing as well as we can Thursday night, giving ourselves a chance to win a championship against a team that will be ready. They'll be prepared, and they'll play very, very hard, and they're disciplined, and they'll execute well. But Rice is a huge game for us.
Y'all had a game yesterday in Birmingham, kind of a tale of two halves. Scored a whole bunch of points in the first half. Second half, game slowed down a whole lot. Was that kind of y'all's doing? Was that a little of their doing? Was it a little both? What was it?
Probably a little bit of both, and probably had to do with our staff slowing us down a little bit. We were playing with a lead. We were playing cautiously and tentatively, just trying to hold on to that lead with dealing with some offensive struggles. But a lot of that had to do with UAB and how well they defended us, and they did a good job of sprinting back into zone. And their zone was a little bit different than what we've seen. They really pressured us at half court and took us out of some of our offensive looks that we tried to attack the zone with. Really had us kind of back on our heels at times offensively, but we were able to hit a couple timely shots late, and we were able to attack their press late, playing with that lead and convert on the other end.
Zone defenses have given y'all some trouble here lately, and people have seen it on tape. You know they have.
Yeah.
What do you guys need to do the most to improve against zone defenses?
Make threes, make shots. Most of the time when teams zone, that's what they're forcing. There's different reasons to zone, but for the most part, when we get zoned, we've gotten, I guess, better looks from behind the arc than we've gotten inside the arc or inside, in the perimeter. In the paint. And we've just got to convert at a higher level. Now we did that against their man, and a couple possessions against UAB's zone in the first half, which gave us that lead. Keon and Chris Anderson came out gunning and making shots. Speedy did a great job, really, of getting them shots, and we were able to hold on to that lead despite our struggles versus that zone in the second half. The times that we did a good job getting the ball to the interior of the zone, it seemed like every time we turned the ball over, they did a great job collapsing with active hands and really dug the ball out of the post and created 4 or 5 turnovers when we got it on the inside. So we need to do a better job there, but we also just need to step up and make shots.
And Raheem's probably got the best mid-range game when he's 100% of anybody on your roster.
Yep.
That helps against a zone. Is there anybody that you really need to step up maybe with their mid-range game and get it going against the zone defenses?
Well, we don't want to get out of character. We kind of want to do what we do, and you're right about that. I don't want to make excuses, but Raheem is probably our best zone offensive player. Because of his ability to make threes, but also to drive it, create fouls, and utilize that mid-range game that he has, those runners and those floaters. Alex has a lot of that in his game as well. Alex he didn't get into a great rhythm there a lot of the second half, and some of it was he was being yanked in and out of the game because other guys were playing well. Cordayers had a great defensive game, and also with a hostile environment on the road, we're trying to do our best to keep our guys fresh. So. In Alex's defense, he wasn't in a great rhythm, but then he stepped up and hit probably the biggest shot of the game, hitting that three opposite wing from our bench was very, very timely for us.
We talked Friday about carrying that momentum over from Thursday to the road on Sunday. How do you feel you did that? Obviously, you got out to that huge start, which probably saved y'all with some of those offensive struggles in the second half.
I was extremely proud, Sean. I mean, we came off probably our most, I would say our second most emotional win on the road in Old Dominion, with our backs against the wall after a loss at East Carolina, where we played really, really hard at Old Dominion. Had major offensive struggles, but overcame them by the way that we defended. come back home and have as an emotional win as we've had at home against the first-place team in our league, where the ultimate goal was to try to defend our glass, hold our own on the glass, and defend as well as we possibly could. Again, had to overcome major offensive struggles against a really good defensive team. And to be able to do it for the third game in a row, where we shot the ball obviously better, but we definitely had, in addition, we had our offensive struggles against UAB as well. I mean, their zone really stifled us in the second half. We had some uncharacteristic turnovers, and many of which were caused by UAB. But overall, you know, in terms of how hard we played, how we battled, when you consider the physicality that we played with on the interior, just to hold our own at times on the glass has got to make you proud as a coach for the third game in a row. Our guys have laid it on the line and put themselves in a position now, again, where Thursday means something.
Do you think it's physically possible for Raheem to get to 100% before the end of the year?
I'm not sure. I'm not certain it is, but I'm not certain it isn't. I know he's not 100% now. We all know that. He's trying, though. He's working hard. I'd be surprised if he's not a factor for us, a bigger factor than he is right now in us having success by the end of the season.
This being such a big game, just talk about the focus. That,
Mhm.
you know, you got some leaders.
Yeah.
on the team, you know, just talk about the focus that you guys need to have coming into this game.
Yeah, we've talked about focus is the word that we'll use all week, and we're going to start on Rice today. You know, normally we take a day and we spend it on ourselves and watch film on the last game, which we'll watch a little bit from UAB, but we're going to get right into Rice today and start preparing that game plan. And we'll preach it as a staff all week that we got to have as good a focus as we've had all year and not let any distractions creep in. And you'd hope that our seniors and our juniors would embrace that. We're a veteran team. We've had our slip-ups in focus in the past, as all teams have. I'd be surprised if you know, our guys aren't ultimately focused on Thursday.
You talked about the focus. The quarter just ended last Thursday.
Yeah.
They can focus all on basketball right now. What does that mean?
You know, it should give us, you know, added advantage, you know, as opposed to us being in school and guys on the road have to worry about, you know, missed classes and making up assignments and, you know, on the bus or in the plane as we travel, what have you. Just not having to worry about quite as much. You know, we talk, whenever we're between quarters, we talk to the guys about being pros. You know, ultimately, it's every young man's dream who plays a sport, most young men, to be professionals one day. And in a sense, our guys are professionals, you know, until we start school again, you know, because they're being paid, they're getting per diem, you know, they have their meals paid for, they have their hotel paid for, and they're not having to go to class. So another reason to have great focus.
What will y'all's schedule look like with the quarter break and all that stuff, even going into the conference tournament?
I hadn't got that far, honestly. I know we better make Rammeljack bounce the basketball and be ready to help on Obi in the post, and we better show up defending as well as we can from the tip against Rice. That's as far as I've gotten. I couldn't even tell you the seeding scenario, any of those things. I know after Thursday night when the game's over, I'll look at you, Kane, and say, what are we seeded? When are we leaving? Who are we playing? But right now it's all about Rice.
What was the key to y'all's success against Obi in the TAC earlier in the year?
Probably the way that we were forced 23 turnovers, so we limited his touches. You know, we just extended our pressure so well in the press and in the half court and our man. We got our hands on a lot of basketballs, and you know, the least amount he touches the basketball, you know, the better chance that we have. He's a load when he catches the ball with deep post position without having to bounce it, you know, without having to make plays. You know, he's best at using his body and getting that great post position catching and finishing. And they do a good job getting in the basketball. They run great stuff. So our pressure's got to be very important. And then Mike's got to beat him with a speed. You know, we've got to beat him up and down the floor because if it's a wrestling match, Obi's going to win that one 9 times out of 10.
And you talk about the pace of the play. Like, against him in attack, his conditioning really played in y'all's favor because of how fast y'all played. I'm sure that'll be another game plan going into the Thursday.
Yeah, you know, against really all bigs, that's Mike's advantage. You know, it's a lot of the reason that we do what we do. You know, we spread pick and roll you, and because Mike's advantage is beating his guy, you know, to a ball screen, and then beating his guy back to the rim, and off makes or misses. His advantage is beating his guy to the other end of the floor. We got to play to our strengths, and against Obi, there's definitely a speed and quickness advantage for Mike. Obi has his advantages as well. So to try to negate those, Mike's got to run that floor as hard as he can at all times, and it can't be different when Zeke or Gibby are in the game. They have to do the same thing. Even though they have different strengths, we've got to stick with that game plan and try to make it as much a track meet as we can.
I know you have several incentives to win Thursday, but the past couple of weeks we've talked about seeding and getting the first round, or double bye, instead of a single bye.
Yeah.
It has to be a little bit more of a motivational factor because if you lose, you probably drop down to that 5 seed and you're looking at 4-4 instead of 3-3.
Yeah, it's a goal of ours, you know, to get the double bye for sure. We'd love to have the double bye and have less games that you have to win, you know, to get the automatic if we're fortunate, you know, if we go to El Paso and play great. But, you know, again, we can't think about El Paso until we've played Rice. And in preparation for Rice, the double bye, I guess, is in the back of your head a little bit, but more importantly to me and to our guys is the chance to share a conference championship. You know, Conference USA championship in our first year would be special. It would be a huge deal for these seniors going out. Really, it'd be 2 in a row for Chris and for Jaron and for Keon and Cordarius. And it's right there in front of us. It's going to be hard to win on the road. All games are hard to win on the road. But that's a huge incentive for us, probably in front of the seeding for the tournament.
With everything going on, we haven't had too much of a chance to talk about Speedy and what he did Thursday.
Yeah.
You can just go back and touch on his recruitment and kind of how he flew under the radar, bringing him here, and then I guess the development and transformation that he's had in the past 3 years.
Well, Speedy was a guy that didn't have another Division I scholarship offer. He's a special kid. He's played since the day he stepped foot on campus with an enormous chip on his shoulder. There probably hadn't been 10 wind sprints that he hasn't won since he's been here. He's just an unbelievable competitor. He's as good a passer as I've ever been around. He's arguably the best passer in college basketball. He's unselfish to a fault. I thought he passed up a couple layups at UAB that we're screaming at him to shoot the basketball. And he's selfish about getting assists. That's what he wants to do. It's his craft. And then on the defensive end, he's just as good. He's the engine in our press with Raheem when Raheem's healthy. And he's been a terrific leader by example since the day he's been here in terms of his work ethic and how hard he plays. He plays pickup like it's a conference championship game. That's what he does. And so we're very proud of him. And over time, he's become more of a vocal leader. He's become more of a floor general, and he's still evolving as a point guard. You know, he's still improving. And I wouldn't trade him for any point guard in our league for sure.
What did you see that other coaches didn't see?
I saw a kid with good size and length, with character, who was an unbelievable passer. That's what I saw in film. We went down and met with him and his family. Thought that they were great people. I knew that he'd been really coached by Coach Schumann, his high school coach, and I knew that he had won. You know, he had won a bunch of games. So all those things to me and to our staff made it an absolute no-brainer. I thought he'd be a very good player for us in the system that we were going to try to implement. You know, I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew he'd be first team all WAC, help us win a WAC championship as a sophomore. He's just come on a little bit quicker than we thought. He's a tremendous player. I'm very blessed to coach him.
But when you look back, you could maybe scratch your head and be like, can't, how'd this guy slip through the cracks a little bit?
Yeah, it just happens. It happens with recruiting and evaluating. There's a lot of good players out there, and all of us coaches just try to do the best we can, and you try to, I guess you try to plug guys into the system that you already have in place, or a system, in my case, that you're going to try to implement, as a new head coach. And you want guys that have been coached. That you want guys that have won, and believe in your vision. He believed in the vision we were trying to sell here, and we believed in the vision that we had for him, which was, I'll never forget it. He was on his official visit, and he said, "Coach, I want to lead for Louisiana Tech. I want to lead the nation in assists one day." He's got a chance to do that. It's not far-fetched. He's terrific.
Do you think he gets enough credit for making everyone else around him that much better? I mean, like you were saying, passing up a few shots. I can remember on the top of my head, Keon had like 2 in transition. I mean, Keon obviously can create his own shot, but a lot of his three-pointers have come off, Stinky's unselfishness.
I think our local media and our fans and our team, our staff, we all really appreciate how good he is. I think the WAC coaches did, and I'm sure some or all of the Conference USA coaches appreciate how good a player he is, how valuable he is to our team. Nationally, I'm not sure people really respect how good of a player he is. He's still building that name for himself. So he's I guess Sean, nationally, he's definitely, in my opinion, underappreciated.